Hello everyone, welcome back to another art time lapse. Today I am doing a abstract piece called The Meaning of Koi. Now, originally for this piece, I really wasn't sure if I was going to incorporate koi fish into it, but it wasn't until later that I thought, what the heck, it's something that I find that I do it like every year. There's always one piece with koi and a girl in it, and I think I might just make a tradition out of this. But anyways, I want to talk a little bit about like my affinity for koi. I don't know, it's just because I love the looseness, like how the tail ripples. It's just so beautiful. And at the same time, koi symbolizes strength, courage, patience, and like grit, success through perseverance. And I really love the idea of that. So I decided to do this piece called The Meaning of Koi this year. Don't know if this is the only piece that I'll do koi, but definitely been noticing this trend that every year somehow koi gets incorporated into one of my art pieces. So here you can see I am using this neon bright pink color that I normally don't use as part of my regular color palette, but I had a dream about it that it'll be really cool to use along with some like cobalt blues and some purples, so I thought I'll try it out. So using gouache, I am using Holbein acrylic gouache, which has like an acrylic component to it. And acrylic gouache has been a medium that I've been sticking pretty consistently with, I would say, over the last like 5-6 years or so when I first started it. I really love how it dries matte, and then the colors are ultra pigmented without me having to manipulate the colors on Photoshop or editing afterwards. So whatever colors you see, that's it. And I really like that, how it kind of sticks true to traditional medium and not doing too many editing with it at the end. And also love how like you can use it like a watercolor if you water it down, so that's a major pro for it. And also when it dries, it's matte, so it's great to mix with other multimedias if I want to use like archival inks, or if I want to mix it with like pastels or like other types of mediums. Is really great to work with. And because it dries matte, when I scan the piece onto the computer, it's much easier to scan as opposed to something that dries glossy. And then another pro I really love is that because of the acrylic characteristic of acrylic gouache, it can overlap onto previous gouache layers. So let's say if I make a mistake, I can paint over it and that will be perfectly fine, where you can't really do that with watercolor, which is kind of a big limitation because like you have to be very careful about each stroke you make, because you can't do a Control-Z associated with this particular watercolor medium as opposed to gouache. And I really love how I don't have to be like super cautious as a result of it. Here I'm just doing like the fins and the tail. You see, as I'm slowing things down and you're watching me paint, it actually takes a lot longer for me to finish a piece as opposed to when I speed things up in art time lapse. So sometimes I like to slow things down so you can see how long it may take me to finish a piece, and for you to really appreciate the process of putting an art piece together. Of course, I know I can probably paint a little bit faster if I would like, but personally I really enjoy savoring the time that I'm doing a art piece, because it's really the process that I enjoy the most, more than the final result that I see, because I would probably spend like a few minutes admiring it and I kind of move on to the next piece. So far, I am trying to keep my YouTube videos up to date on my channel so that you can see every single art piece that I work on. It's probably the best way to archive all my pieces so far, as opposed to putting on a website, because I think nowadays everybody really enjoys the video format, and I feel like the video format also lends well for people to kind of enjoy the process and see how a piece go from like a blank white piece of paper to its finished product. Also gives me a voice to talk about my artwork and a platform to express the meaning and why I chose certain colors or draw in specific symbolism into the piece. So I really have enjoyed the opportunity to kind of express that through these videos. And if you've been following on my YouTube channel for a while, you'll notice that I've been talking a little bit about my artist process, and also leaving a little bit of messages for my children in case they ever stumble onto my YouTube channel in the future and curious about why mom spends so much time at her art table. But anyways, so this piece, going back to this piece, is symbolic of koi, and I really want to commemorate how, like, I hope my children will have a sense of grit in the future. And I feel like a really bad mother in this process, and that, like, I help a lot, and a lot of the things they do on a daily basis, and I know that I should really let go and let them face these challenges head on without my assistance. So I really have to be better at stepping back and giving them opportunities to try these mini challenges, so that when something really bad does happen, they will know how to face it in the future. And I don't know if, I think probably a lot of parents probably struggle with the same thing as well. So that's just something I want to add as a tip for this piece. But so I have, you can see 3 koi fishes that are just kind of floating around on this girl in the center, who seems a little bit indifferent about them being around, or maybe not even noticing that they're around. So it kind of symbolizes how sometimes that grit, that courage, that strength that stems from within is something that flows freely, that you may not even notice over time once you have kind of acquired it in part of your daily life. Now you can see I am using some oil pencils to color in some highlights and create some depth, so plays nicely to how I use a lot of multimedia on top of my gouache once it dries. This is an archival jelly roll white color from Sakura that I picked up at Amazon. See that the jelly roll is not actually that smooth as I'm kind of going over highlights for it, which is a little disappointing. I find that thinner ones seem to plug up a little bit easily, which is very disappointing, because I used to have a very good longevity with my Sakura jelly rolls, and I've just been not noticing it in some of the newer jelly rolls that I've been picking up. And I don't really like the thick lines from the thicker jelly roll pens that are like 10 or above. So here you can see I'm adding highlights for the koi fish. I've also added some butterflies flying around, which symbolizes how, kind of like butterflies in your stomach, even though you have that internal strength, that perseverance, like there is still a component of anxiety or fear, like healthy kind of fear to it, that you're excited that you are embarking upon maybe a new opportunity. So here is the finished piece, the meaning of koi. I hope you enjoyed this art time lapse. Thank you so much for joining me in doing this piece and listening to me ramble. Really appreciate it. I'll see you next time in another art time lapse. Take care and stay creative, everyone. Bye for now.